According to the DSM-5, autism is defined by deficits in social communication interaction across multiple contexts, as manifested by deficits in social-emotional reciprocity, nonverbal communicative behaviors, and in developing, maintaining, and understanding relationships. Restricted, repetitive patterns of behavior, interests, or activities. Symptoms may be present in the early developmental period. Symptoms cause clinically significant impairment in social, occupational, or other important areas of current functioning. There are many common characteristics you can observe in children with ASD. One is their engagement in repetitive activities and stereotyped movements. Stereotyped movements are repeated, inappropriate movements that serve no purpose. They may have an inappropriate use of nonverbal gestures, such as limited eye contact, standing too closely, or speaking too loudly or too softly. Children with autism spectrum disorder have difficulty socializing, which can include trouble taking turns and cooperating, difficulty starting and maintaining conversations, and difficulty understanding social relationships. Other characteristics of children with ASD are their resistance to changes in daily routines, their unusual responses to sensory experiences, and their trouble with peer relationships and understanding social situations. There are 3 psychological theories that describe children with autism spectrum disorder. The first is a lack of theory of mind. Theory of mind is the ability to recognize and understand the thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and intentions of other people. Ow! As you can see in the video, the boy focuses on just the tire instead of the truck as a whole. The second psychological theory is a weak central coherence. This means that students with ASD often cannot see the big picture. They attend well to some details, but have trouble understanding the overall gist of something, which can be difficult in school settings for reading comprehension. The third psychological theory is impaired executive function. Children with ASD struggle with time management, organization, planning, working memory, inhibition control, and using strategies. Prevalence and causes. Today, 1 in 68 children are diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. Of those children, boys are 4 times more likely to be diagnosed than girls. ASD is one of the fastest growing developmental disorders in the U.S. as compared to 2003, when 1 in 150 children were diagnosed with ASD. There is not one solid cause of ASD, but some genetic factors and environmental factors before and during birth have been proven to cause autism. Diagnosis and spectrum. Currently, there is no medical test to diagnose a child with ASD. However, there are 4 behavioral categories to diagnose autism spectrum disorder. The first is social communication and social interaction, which involves a deficit in social-emotional reciprocity, communication skills or lack thereof, and developing and maintaining relationships. The second is restrictive and repetitive behavior. The child must meet 2 of the following behaviors. 1. Stereotyped or repetitive behavior. 2. Adherence to routines. 3. Restricted or fixated interest. 4. Hyper or hypo-reactivity to sensory input. The third category is that symptoms must be present in early childhood. This is not diagnosed until social demands become apparent, typically before the age of 3, and the child does not talk or respond to requests. The fourth and final category is impairment in everyday functioning. This includes any action that limits or impairs everyday functioning and causes disturbances in everyday life. Brain functioning. Recent studies have shown that the brains of children with ASD are larger than those without ASD, which may be due to an excessive amount of neurons. Neurons are the building block in the brain responsible for generating, receiving, synthesizing, and transmitting electrical impulses. Above the brainstem is an area called the diencephalon, which is divided into the thalamus and hypothalamus. The thalamus acts as a sensory relay station for sensory information ascending to the brain. The hypothalamus controls homeostatic reproductive, and satiety functions, including the sympathetic nervous system that responds when we are under threat. Children with autism who have high activity level and perhaps are hypersensitive to sensory input like sirens and alarms are thought to be dominated by the sympathetic nervous system, which increases their fight or flight reaction. The cerebellum is a cortical structure important for fine coordination of skillful motor activity, posture, and equilibrium. The cerebellum of some children with autism have been found to have an excessive number of axons within it, but with abnormal distribution. There are also fewer Purkinje cells in the cerebellum. Purkinje cells arouse the reticular nuclei, which stimulates the arousal of muscle tone and helps a person to change the focus of their attention.